Hey guys, so today I ended up getting the transmission for the SI. Was happy to actually, get ready, start up a new video, and get throwing the thing together so it can actually finally drive again. Because it's been probably like 2 months now since the thing's actually gone down the road. But fortunately, I ended up coming into a few more issues, and I really tried to avoid, making it known or anything like that, which I really shouldn't. I really still don't have to make it known, but I just want to explain the process of dealing with something like this. So I got the transmission inside my apartment, but I'll show you.
D16Y7 manual transmission. I thought it looked a little bit beat up, and then I was like, oh, let me check out the interior real quick. It's crazy how clean it is. Look at the seats.
So here's the transmission, and basically it was just the transmission that showed up. No fork. The gear selector came with it. I just had to put on the studs for the nuts, the hook for the cherry picker or whatever, the bolts for the shifter cables. But anyways, so this ended up showing up, and I had to take the clutch fork from the old one and put it on here. And if you see my previous video, you could actually, when I pull the transmission out, kind of see me take the fork and wiggle it up and down. And I ended up noticing that there was a little bit of play, in which I thought originally maybe the little pivot ball that the fork clips into or rests on. I figured that was worn, and I figured, getting a different transmission and whatnot would fix the issue. But I put the fork on this transmission, and it's literally the same exact thing, and it's just complete slop. Even when you go to push it on even more, still the same stuff. It's just complete slop. I ended up reaching out to one of my buddies that had actually worked on this car prior, and I just asked him about his opinion, and he actually recommended while it's out, and basically while it's out, just replace it, because it does obviously look like it is pretty loose. But the other thing is I was basically shopping around looking for a clutch fork. But anyways, I was also just going over the car anyways too, just to get everything all situated and squared away for it to get bolted back in. And we had a clutch put in it by this company or garage or whatever you want to call them. We had a clutch put in by them, and it's the first time ever actually having work done through their place. And I ended up getting underneath the vehicle, and I stuck my finger through the pressure plate in the clutch to see, if everything's all aligned and whatnot. And you may be able to see it, probably not, because it's dark. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it because it's dark out, or dark in there. But there's a pilot bearing that sits in there, and for some reason, don't know why, but the pilot bearing, it's supposed to sit snug into the back of the crankshaft, and it was just loose. It wasn't even in placement of where it's supposed to be or anything. And I'd also reached out to my buddy and just asked him, hey, is that possible that came out when I took out the transmission? And he even, he said, it most likely not. So I got to take the pressure plate off, get the clutch out, and reset the pilot bearing. And I went to go ahead and do that. Started taking out the pressure plate bolts, and yet again, if you watched my previous video, I was dealing with a couple stuck bolts, stripped bolts, and it's just been a long process. One of the bolts that were stripped was actually the transmission mount bolts that goes into the chassis of the car. As you can see right in there, it was all stripped. And there's one that was decently alright, in which I do have the bolts right here. This bolt went there, and then the bolt for that one is right here, in which you can see right up here that there's like the threads are all basically like messed up, which is typically from being over tightened and not torqued to a certain spec of what it's supposed to be. But anyways, I was actually going to take out the pressure plate bolts, and the same thing started to happen. I was down to the last bolt, and it was actually that bolt right back there. Oh, of course it's blurry. Bolt right there. And basically what had happened was it started coming out gently, and then it just started getting tight. And I tried retightening it, re-loosening it, and nothing's working. So it's been a lovely day. I'm waiting for my sister to come by, have her take a look at it, and just basically get a second opinion, you know, because I'm like at wit's end with this thing, and it should not be this much of a friggin' headache when it should just, you know, I've done clutches before, I've done transmissions before, and this is some bullshit. So stay tuned, and we'll have a follow-up. Hey guys, so last night I ended up deciding that I was gonna head and go ahead with continue trying to get the pressure plate bolt out, the one that was stuck. I just ended up using some heat on the back side of the flywheel, and it ended up coming loose. And basically what I had ended up noticing was whoever ended up putting the clutch in, they ended up using a red Loctite to put the pressure plate bolts back in. So I ended up getting the bolts out. I got the clutch out, pressure plate, and you can see on the back side, you can see where like the red Loctite was. And I'm still trying to actually figure out how the pressure plate has like some burnt spots in it when it's literally a brand new pressure plate and brand new clutch kit at that. The clutch still decent. It literally has like not even been driven on, from the best of my knowledge. At least I haven't driven on it. Well, I mean, the only thing I did was like move it around in second gear at my house just to turn it around, so it is where it's at now. But the pilot bearing, if you guys remember me talking about that, just like falling, it was kind of like just, it would usually like sit center to like hold the output shaft of the trainee straight into the crank basically, so there's no like slop play or anything. And what I was trying to talk about was when I looked in there to pretty much put my finger through everything to make sure it was all aligned. When I stuck my finger through, the pilot bearing was basically just like, it was like sitting sideways. And I was a little bit confused, but once I got the pressure plate and the clutch out, I ended up looking at the pilot bearing, and this is basically like what I pulled out. You can see it's like, it definitely was not sitting in there straight whatsoever. Like, it definitely, I don't know what exactly, you know, went on, what happened, but it's supposed to be, this is a brand new pilot bearing. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it's one of those things. So basically, what ended up finding out, you know, that the pilot bearing's all like messed up and everything, I ended up just deciding I was gonna go downstairs into my basement, and I was gonna take apart the old transmission just for shits and giggles, just to actually like look inside of it. when the transmission was still in the car, I had ended up actually using a bore scope to go in through the gear selector area and just to look around to see like what's going on. But I was finally able to get the transmission separated and was actually able to like look at it. So I'll also post that video as well. I'll intertwine it in with this one, and we'll go from there. So. Alright, so we got all the nuts and bolts out. Now we're just down to separating the case. I already opened up the clip up top, so now I'm just trying to get the case off the bell housing. I think we got it. Alright, I got the case off. So, originally with the bore scope, I was looking down over at first gear here. It's a little beat up. Currently dealing with some stuff to get the new transmission put into the car. Ended up running into an issue with the pilot bearing and whatnot. It wasn't seated correctly when this transmission was put back in it. And gotta get a new pilot bearing. And I think that's about it. Oh, and we gotta get a clutch fork as well. And then we'll be able to put the new transmission back in. But we'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.